From 2019 through 2023, we were seeing some great number one overall picks. In 2019, Zion was the number one overall pick, followed by guys like Anthony Edwards, Cade Cunningham, Paolo Banchero, and then Victor Wembanyama. So to have Zaccharie Risacher follow up those names as the next number one overall pick, it was kind of seen as a disappointment in many people's eyes. Risacher was seen as someone who could be a good role player in the NBA, and he was drawing comparisons to names like Michael Porter, Cam Johnson, Kelly Oubre, and Harrison Barnes, who are all good players, but none of these guys have made any All-Star games, and they're not viewed as number one or number two options on a really good team. Now, to some people, drafting a guy like that number one overall seems like a mistake. When we think of number one overall selections, we think of all-star, superstar level talents, not a good role player that could be a quality starter on your team. But instead of immediately labeling him as this disappointing or underwhelming number one overall pick, I think it's important to understand why the Atlanta Hawks drafted him with that selection. Going into the 2024 draft lottery, nobody was expecting Atlanta to even get the number one overall pick. They had the 10th best odds. This was a team who actually nearly made the playoffs that season. So when they jumped up to number one, that was seen as a huge surprise for them. On top of that, before the 2024 draft, all anybody could talk about was how disappointing and how bad a draft class this was going to be. It's easy for us as fans to criticize some of the moves that these front offices make, but if you put yourself in the shoes of the Atlanta Hawks front office, this was a team who, yes, was not expecting to get the number one overall pick, and then they get that first pick in a poor draft. They're probably thinking, okay, maybe Risacher doesn't have the highest potential in this class. Maybe he'll end up being the fourth or fifth best player. But if we ended up with the 10th pick like we were expecting, we wouldn't have got a player as good as him. At the time of the draft, the only other contenders for the first selection were Alex Sarr, Donovan Clingan, and Reed Shepherd, but for various reasons they were seen as more likely bust candidates than Risacher was. And sure, I can see why a safe number one overall pick wouldn't be viewed as a very exciting one. But from what I've seen from Risacher in just his rookie season, yes, he already has a really high floor as a reliable role player, but he does have more potential than that, and I could see him being a star in the future. So first things first, let's look at the statistical improvements he's made throughout his first season. From October 23rd through December 29th, he was averaging 10.8 points, but he was doing so on below 40% shooting from the field, below 30% shooting from three, and then just under 70% from the free throw line. However, since January 1st, Risacher has been much better. His scoring average has gone up to 13.5 points per game, but it's the efficiency jumps that are most noticeable. He's now shooting 49% from the field, 41% from three, and 75% from the free throw line since January 1st. And sure, most of his buckets are being assisted on, but he's showing us in the stretch that he's a really good three-point shooter, he's an awesome cutter in the half court, and then he's great in transition as well. Then on defense, what's impressed me the most is his IQ. He's a great help defender, he knows where to be and he gets there at the right times. And then when he's contesting shots on the ball, he does so in a disciplined way and he's able to contest and defend without fouling. Some people have been pretty down on the fact that he has a neutral wingspan. He stands at 6'10", but his wingspan from what I've seen is listed around 6'9.5" to 6'10". But still, even if you wanted to complain that his arms aren't as long as some other forwards, he's also taller than a lot of other forwards, so it kind of evens out. He will have to add some more strength just to become a more reliable on-ball defender, but he's already showing us that he's a good team defender, and when you combine that with the efficient offensive output that he's been giving us, those are great signs to see from someone who's still in their first season. Now, even though his shooting splits have been great since the turn of the calendar year, there are still things that he has to work on offensively. And the main thing that stands out to me is his handle. When I've watched Risacher play, there are just times where he looks uncomfortable as a self-creator. I think this play against the Nuggets is perfect, where he gets the ball coming off a screen and then he gets caught in midair between a pass and a shot, and he gets kind of lucky just throwing the ball up and in, but that's not a play that's sustainable. He just got pretty lucky. And then here we have another example where Dame reaches, which allows Risacher to get the step on him, but instead of maybe keeping Dame on his back and being patient and waiting to get a good look, he does exactly what the Bucks want and tries to take a layup over Brook Lopez. Even though he's not great as a self-creator, he has given me a reason for hope. As a passer, he's shown the ability to make the right reads coming out of the short roll. He's also been pretty effective attacking closeouts, and what I've noticed, especially recently, is that he's very patient on his drives, and he'll have these nice finishes around the basket because he's not rushing. There are moments and plays where he displays really nice footwork. And with that footwork, he's shown ability in the mid-range too. There are times where he's able to hit these reverse pivot fadeaways over defenders. Even if he picks up his dribble a little too early, he's able to remain calm, use a nice assortment of fakes and pivots to free himself up for a good look. So Risacher is already proving to be a good three-point shooter. He can put the ball on the floor, attack closeouts, and then finish at the rim. There's been glimpses of some mid-range ability with him. And then even though the handle does need to improve in the half court, I have seen moments where he grabs rebounds and then pushes the ball in transition. So I just wanted to make this video because Zaccharie Risacher simply doesn't get talked about, and I feel like a lot of people still have this negative view of him just because, as I said earlier, the 2024 draft was viewed as such a poor draft class, and Zaccharie Risacher was seen as this really underwhelming #1 overall pick. I was watching highlights from one of his recent games, and the first comment that I saw in the video was that this guy is the worst #1 overall pick since Anthony Bennett. And that's just simply not true. In today's NBA, you want a guy that can be a versatile defender who can also shoot the three. Risacher is showing you that he can do that. And then on top of that, he's a great cutter. He can run the floor well in transition. He can grab rebounds and then push the ball himself. And sure, if he wants to become a star, he's going to have to improve as a self-creator and passer. But again, he's still only 19 years old, and he's given some glimpses of hope. I don't think that he's starting from ground zero when it comes to his passing or his ball handling. He's also shown some really nice footwork at times, and then with his shooting ability, he could be a good mid-range shooter and be able to hit those type of pull-up shots. I'm not trying to convince anyone that Risacher is a future top 10 player in the league, but he already has great foundational skills for someone so young. And as I've touched on in this video, he's shown flashes of someone with all-star potential. He's still flying under the radar, but in a few years, I'm confident that Risacher will prove himself as a worthy #1 overall pick.